Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of People Who Inspire. On PWI, I try as much as possible to identify people whose work I think would serve as a blueprint of inspiration for all of us. Today, I'm excited, really excited, because a lot of times, especially within Africa, we sideline teachers who spend very copious amount of time with our children. They imbibe into our kids the kind of values and principles that will make them successful in future. And so today, the person I'm going to speak to is a teacher himself, and the work he's been doing, I've been following him all these years, is really fantastic. And so I'm excited to be having today on the stream Francis, Dom Francis. How are you, Francis? Happy to have you on People Who Inspire.
Prince, it's really an honor to be on this show. I followed you for a while too, for several years, and it's an opportunity to be here. Thank you so much for bringing me here.
Oh, I
Yes,
mean, it's really it's an honor, Don Francis. The one thing I saw from your timeline, I'm not sure whether it's a month ago or even less than that. You had posted something about I'm not sure what you said. You were how you got slippers for school or something. There was an accident. I'm not sure whether it's your post or something. I forgot. I'm not sure whether it's you, but something has got to do with you're sharing some of the challenges, in your pathway towards even getting an education and all that, and how you decided to go to the north or something. I'm not sure whether I got a push right. Am I right in that? Do I remember correctly?
that's true.
Yeah, so today we'll delve a bit deeper to get to know a little bit about Don Francis. And if you're watching this, just feel free to send in a comment or a question throughout the discussions that we're going to have. And if I think about you, Don, like I've followed you, like I said, quietly for some time now. And
Yes.
why did you decide to go into teaching? Is there a specific reason why you decided to be a teacher?
First of all, I want to say again that I'm so grateful for having me on this show. Look, I've been following you for a long time, several years on Facebook, and I see you do this thing. I'm excited. So like when I see you put people on, people get to share their story. Today, I told someone, look, whenever you tell me to share your story, it looks like you've given me the biggest opportunity because that's when I get to narrate how I came out to be who I am. So once again, thank you so much. Now, this whole thing, it's so funny, but let me start it. I became a teacher because of a teacher. So it all began, I think, several years back. I had a teacher called Mr. 𝗗cie Now, I was in a school where, like, I grew up in an extended family. I know with time I'll get to share some of these stories. Now, I grew up in an extended family. I loved books, but I didn't know the extent to which I can go. Then one day we went to school at Tebubu New Era Baptist Preparatory School. We're there. Then
Mhm.
our head teacher came. Look, we've had a new teacher. He's coming to class 4. I was like, wow, this guy came. And there's this movie called Like Stars on Earth. The teacher is almost like that. The movie was shot by American. Now he was like that. He uses an open-minded form of teaching. Like he teaches you about the lakes in the world, about the continents, about everything, and he still gets to teach everything he wants to teach. Now, what made me like him was the fact that for me, when we do dictation and I get 9/10, this man canes me. But the others, when they get 0, he doesn't do anything to them. He took a right
Wow.
from them. Yeah, he offered to look, Francis, you're operating below your level. And I was a kid, grade 4, I didn't know anything. But he forced me. By the end of grade 4, our GHS was having a quiz. And I think the first one, they trailed. Then he went to suggest to them that he has a kid in class 4 and he wants him to represent the GHS. So I should go and join 2 contestants. And then, like, the head teacher was like, okay. Initially, it was a bit of an argument. Class 4, the
Wow.
JHS. People can spell almost every word So they kept me on. And since then, we didn't even get one single word wrong. So that was when I came up. Like, that was the
Wow.
first time I realized what he was doing to me, always on me to spell, to read, and he'll buy a book. He buys a new book and buy the same for himself and gives it to you. And it's like, tomorrow when you come, you are supposed to read chapter one and finish. Now, when you come, chapter one, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to open to any page at all. If I start to read the passage, you have to continue or paraphrase whatever it is about. I'm like, this teacher, please stop killing me. But like as like joke, that was how I came up. So I decided to also come back to the teaching field to pay back what he's done to me. I said this because initially, honestly, most of my friends from high school thought I would be a journalist or probably I'll be doing
Mm.
something far away from teaching. But I decided to come back to college and then to be a teacher because I always loved working with children, not just children, with the young people, trying to show people the way and then paying back what somebody did to me when I was a child. So I think that's more of the reason why I became a teacher. So for me, teaching is a passion and I do it for fun.
Wow. I mean, I've had several guests on this show, and there's always that one teacher. It's really amazing. Like every
Yeah,
single one of my guests would recollect a point in their lives where a teacher either said something or encouraged them or like put some
exactly.
faith in them, and
Yeah,
then it changed their lives. It's really
yeah.
incredible how impactful teachers can be, in our lives. It's
Yeah.
incredible. Now I always do this with my guests. Like, so we understand, let's say, the reason behind your becoming a teacher. I'd like to know a little bit about you as a person, right? Can you share a bit of like where did you grow up? How was it like growing up? Did you have parents who were educated because of that? Maybe they said, okay, yeah, they need to make sure that you also get educated, or how was it like, going through high school, and up until this point? Just a little bit about who you are. You can even tell us, what you do in your spare time and things like that, just for us to know a little bit about you.
So Don Francis. Initially, I wasn't called Don Francis. The Don Francis
Oh,
is our
really?
family. Yeah, our family is called the Don family. It's actually so I am the one carrying the family name. I was initially called Corina Francis. It's more of a chieftaincy name. Now
Oh,
I was like my parents. We are Dagari, what we call Dagati. Ghanaians will say Dagati people from Wogu in Upper West region. That is the Fiama 𝗗cie district. Now, in our family system, we run the extended family. So in my family system, I grew up in Wogu, and in a few, like I think by age 5, 6 thereabout, I left my biological parents to live with my other parents, that is my uncle, but we call them our dad in Atebubu in the Bono East region, currently Bono East. So when I got there, my dad, we call them my dad. We don't have uncle. We don't have. I said it a few days ago in Dagari. We don't have cousins. We don't have uncle. My uncle, that's my stepfather, is my father. That's our family system. So when I got
oh,
there,
wow.
this picked me up. So it will surprise a lot of people on this live feed that man I call my biological father is actually not my biological father because he raised me up. Everybody knows that's my dad, but that's not my biological dad. Now, when I got
Wow.
there, this man had never been to class, but he reads the tree Bible far better than anyone I've ever met in life. That's one thing I've known about my dad. He reads better. So I think me liking books is a family thing because I see it in my dad. The man reads so well. When I got to Atebubu, I began from Wogu LA Primary. That those days was LA. Then I came down to Atebubu class 2, New Era Baptist International School. Up till I registered for BEC, and unfortunately, our family had a crisis. I often refer to this as the crisis of a blessing. Um, Something happened abruptly, and my family was supposed to send us back to the village. I think that was 2006, and we were sent to a village in the Volta region. Now, when we were sent there, it was almost like 3 weeks or 2 weeks to BC. I was just a small boy. After I did those quizzes and everything, they had to take us off. There was no way the family could retain us, so they sent us to the
Wow.
village. So I couldn't write my BC in 2007. Then I went to the village. As often of me, because I liked reading, can't get see the teacher who did this to me. When we were going to the village, I packed only books instead of picking clothing and everything. Look, those days, even in, I packed Gast. You remember there was this science books,
Yes,
Gast. I
yes,
packed
Gast. Yes.
this Jehovah Witness book called Awake.
Yes,
There's
I would.
this
The yellow, orange book
yes,
also,
this
yeah.
SDA for School of Hope. Every book my hands laid on, and the only thing I've stolen in my life is just a pen or a book. If those things will ever say to me, oh God, please forgive me. I got a lot of from people, and then I sent it to the village. So whilst I was at the village, I didn't stop schooling. I didn't stop schooling. I was reading. Every time I was reading whilst I was at the village there. Then one day this Pentecost elder came to church. And whenever he comes, Pentecost, they will read us the announcements, and then you read and you interpret. My elder father, my dad's, like I said initially, there are three. My elder father, my biological father, and then my reverend father, the last father. But this time around, I was with my elder father at the village there. So he reads the announcement and then explain it in Dagari to the congregation. Then we go. So there was this day this man was sick. My father was sick and he didn't come for church service. And then there was this old school teacher who also reads in the absence of my father. He too wasn't there. Then I gave a suggestion that I could read. Then the man gave it to me. I read impeccably. When I began to read and then explain, I saw the elder put the Bible down abruptly and then stood up, and he was like, somebody who is feeling very cold. He's like, he's watching me. He was like, wow, like this, how come a boy in this village is able to read like this? And say, friends, in 1 or 2 weeks later, the man had made sure I was sent back to school.
Oh,
He made
wow.
When we left school, it was more of we are not going to come back. We're going to be farmers. But that single encounter from just reading reading the announcement and then explaining,
Wow.
the man was shocked. I heard him ask my father, "Why is this boy reading like this and he's in the village? Why is he reading like this and he's in the village? Can you get him back to the classroom?" And the rest is history. So I came back to
Wow.
Atebubu and then began again from class 6 at Atebubu Presby. But then one day I got to class, Mr. Agwe was like, Francis, you don't have to be in a government school like this. It looks like you are far higher than your colleagues. So I think I have to talk to your brother and then he'll kick you out and send you to another school. Then in a few days, 6 weeks time, I spent only one term in Atebubu Presby. This very teacher, my own class teacher, went to speak with my brother and they picked me out of the government school and then sent me to one Atebubu New Apostolic Preparatory School where I finally finished my GHS education. So I finished there in 2011 and proceeded to Tamale, Ghana Senior High School. And one of the turning points for me. I think
Yeah,
Ghana Senior.
Ghana's, yeah.
Now the
It's a
reason
big
why I chose
school.
Ghana, yeah, the reason why I chose it was because initially I was supposed to go to Prempeh College, but my teacher, Mr. my teacher who had transformed me like this, actually went to Ghana school, and he told me about the fact that Ghana school was the only school as at 1976 who was able to launch a rocket in the whole of Ghana in the presence of former William Soforiata, and then the man had accredited.
Oh, okay.
So it's more of a pride. He often sings songs and then give us stories about his old school. And I was interested. So I had to shift back to Ghana Senior High School. And that's how I found myself in Ghana Senior High School. And the rest again was history. And whenever I appear on a show, I try to be honest enough to encourage people. In Ghana school, I failed. Yeah, I failed. I failed mathematics and I failed science because I wasn't well.
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't. Yeah, I didn't even get to write some of the papers. But that
Wow.
and again another crisis which gave me a hope because I failed and I came back home. Actually, I wouldn't have failed because I would have had time to write all the papers. But because I was sick,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to write all the papers. But I failed anyway. I wrote paper A alone and I failed. So when I came back
Wow.
in 2014, going back to school was difficult because in JHS, from primary, everybody knows this guy is doing well, he reads, he speaks, but SHS, it didn't work out. So the zeal for education had died out in me. I didn't want to go back to school. So 2014, I
Wow.
won't go back to school. My friends were going to school. 2015, my friends, you see them on Facebook. And then I found Facebook earlier in 2008, even as a kid. And I was using it for just fun. But after high school, because my friends were going back to the Legon, KUST, UDS, and the rest, and I was at home. You looked like you are odd from them. They posted school pictures, everybody in cars and in other things. Anytime I posted a picture, no like, no comment, nobody would talk about me.
Yeah.
I decided for all my life, I'm somebody that's so real. I don't have to hide anything from people. So, and I am a farmer's son. My biological, all my parents, they are all farmers, no school, except that they read impeccably, but no school. So I decided to share my stories. And I have been depressed right from 2014-15 coming because of the crisis I had from high school. So what I
Wow.
like to do is I'll go to the farm sometimes with a book. When we are at the farm, I will be like, let me go and have a small time with God. Then I'll go and read. After a while, when you read, after a while, you start to talk to yourself. But after a while again, you can't stop talk to yourself. You have to let others know what you are thinking about. And then I began to write on Facebook, just write under the name Son of the Farmer. Son of the Farmer. We were having fun with Facebook. Then again, I came across a group of friends, Akufa Glover, Ete, and then Amalia, friends from outside Ghana. Then they were
Okay.
organizing this called early Christmas concert. I joined the team, the publicity team, and I realized I was the only high school graduate, but I could write. For them, they felt like, one day we're introducing ourselves on WhatsApp group. I think this was in 2016. Then I said I was a high school graduate. Everybody said, look, this is not true. And I'm like, I'm a high school graduate. High school graduate, they write like this, you have to go back to school. Then there's this Nigerian friend of mine, Amalia Abraham. God richly bless this guy. This guy would come to my inbox. He picked me like a brother. He had been to the university a long time. Now he's in Germany. Then this guy would
Mhm.
worry me, go back to school, go back to school, go back to school, right from 2016, go back to school. Then later on, it was more like everybody joined. Look, the way you are, you can teach, you can do this, you can do this. It was just like that. And the story continues. One day too, I was at workplace. I used to work with IT,
Mhm.
more like internet service, like just help people with basic IT stuff. So one day I was at work, and then there's this man that walked in and tapped on my shoulder. Then I was like, "This is a form. Fill a form for College of Education." Even before that, I had filled for Legon because I wanted to go and do English language. He was like, "Fill it for college," and that was the end. I filled for college. A few days later, I had admission for Atibubu College of Education, and I got to Atibubu College of Education, became the SRC president, and
Oh
finally,
wow.
February 2022, the government said I should come to Gomoa Afransi. And you know the interesting thing, the night our posting were going to be released, I was by my PC trying to just do my basic stuff. Then something done. I'm a Christian and I discern. Then around 2 a.m., something dawned on me that I just heard something within me that it's time for your assignment. Wherever you get, just go there. Then I was like, I hear with my discernment, it's more like sometimes I hear. So I'm more of an audio person. I actually
Yes.
don't fancy. So after I heard that thing, I decided to check the GES portal and I realized I had Gomoa Afransi. I was like, come on, Gomoa Afransi, right from Atubu straight to Central Region. And we were just about 4 people from my college coming to Central Region. But I texted a friend like, Jack, Charlie, I've got Gomoa Afransi. How is the school like? He's like, oh, Charlie, that place is the regional capital. Go. I took a vehicle. The very day I stepped foot in my school, I could hear within my spirit, you have an assignment. Just stay. So that got me here.
Wow. Wow. That's I mean whilst you're speaking, right, I was just visualizing the whole thing, just as you're an audio person, I'm sometimes very visual person. So whilst we were speaking, I was just trying to walk through, that journey. And
Yeah,
two things struck me, right? It would
yeah,
seem that at every point in time, someone, right,
yeah,
God uses someone like you mentioned to really
yeah,
come into your life to cause a change,
yeah,
especially when you went to read in that church,
yeah,
that pastor or priest who stepped in and said, this guy has to go back to school. Right.
yeah.
That's for me, because that is like a turning point. You could have gone into farming and that
That
would have
was,
been the end of your
yeah,
education.
yeah.
It's really
So,
incredible. And when you're going through all these, you talked about failure, and I would like to touch on that because
Yeah.
I realized that personally, when I feel that I've failed, I feel this invisible stigma, like a burden, right? Like
Yeah.
you said, you felt a bit some way going back to school, especially when everyone knows you to be
Exactly.
academically, good and everything.
Yeah.
How did you handle? I know you mentioned that because of that you're unable to even go back, but like what gave you the impetus to be able to get back on your feet, right? Because I know people who are watching PWI today, and there are some viewers who probably are either going through some bit of failure or have gone through it in the past. I want you to share what really helped you. Was it some encouragement from someone? Like what really helped you to get back on your feet?
I say, Prince, I would want to say this live anywhere I go. I say it and I say the truth. Given my own strength, honestly, I would have by now I would have been married in a village, a typical my village I come from are 14 houses and they are dispersed settlement. The nearest house could be like half kilometer away. So I would have been
Wow.
deep in the village. But I recognize the fact that there is God. As for me, I don't lie with that. Because I look at the capabilities and the few things I do, and I'm like, this, please, I can't lie. It's not me. But aside God, the God factor is my number one reason. But aside God, I am one guy that you can't quench my faith. Oh my God, you can't quench my faith. Once I conceive it, there's a statement. I think it's more of the Bible statement. I don't know where I read it. It says, "What our eyes have seen and our hands have handled." Because I know, because at every moment in my life, there are things. Anytime I go over a challenge, and I know how I come across, like I get over that or I defeat that challenge. I have come to realize that there is no challenge that I won't defeat. So because I have achieved it before, the premises for achieving that gives me the kind of courage to keep moving. So I don't for look, if everybody decide, let me give a funny story to illustrate what I'm trying to say. When we're in college, right? When our
Yeah.
results are out and UCC comes to post the results on the notice board, you see that the entire school runs to the notice board to watch. And you know the funny thing, the first time our results were in, everyone was running to the notice board, and I was the only one. I was the only one coming the opposite way. Then somebody said, "Hey, Jack, now what mean you do?" But there was a time in my life I describe myself as I am that guy that I always do the opposite when it comes to breaking down. It doesn't mean I don't break down. I break down, but I have this conviction. That single conviction, I don't stop. So I think aside the God factor, the conviction that yes, what the vision I've seen or the vision before my eyes. Listen, if not because of vision, by now, long ago, we have all been at places. But I believe in what I'm doing. And I know where I'm hearing my inspiration from. Once I know that, everything else should go. I'll perceive it. So I don't care how much I feel. I just move.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you watching, Don has made a very important point that he doesn't focus on even the number of times he fails.
Yes.
I think the key thing is getting back on your feet, and he's mentioned the fact that he draws inspiration, at least from his faith. He decides that look, I'm a Christian, I believe in God, and so he looks internally, intrinsically, on
Yeah.
his faith and how God is able to strengthen him. And then beyond that, like he mentioned, you have to draw some inspiration also externally, right? You pick up lessons, right? You're able to either read, you're able to either seek counseling from people in your network and so forth. So this for me, I think it's a very crucial point that you mentioned. And when I hear your story, I think about the fact that there are people who and I use like my own late mother as an example, that the kind of opportunities that I had, she never had that. It doesn't mean that someone who has not been to school is necessarily uneducated, or it's illiterate. Like you mentioned early on that your father, for example, hadn't been to school, formal education, hadn't received formal education, but he was able to read, right, and interpret what he has read and understand what he's read. And I look in society today, especially in Ghana, where for for those of us who've had the opportunity to be educated, we look down on
Yeah,
the people, the market women, or if they had the opportunity that we had, the kind of enlightenment and the kind of like ubiquity of technology that we have today, if they had that, they probably would have also gone through some bit of
yeah.
education. Now, from where you sit, right, what, like someone who is watching this, maybe hasn't yet been formally educated, do you have any kind of a word of advice? It's maybe the person is young and maybe just did high school and has low self-esteem, feels that, oh, because I've not been educated, then nothing can amount to my life. Do you have any advice for such a person?
Just this morning, yesterday in the evening, by this time I was holding this very conversation. This morning I held this conversation, and interestingly, we are about to hold it again. You see, formal education does not determine who a person should be. I say that because I have come to realize that most of the people that have held my hand or whose words have shaped my destiny are even people who were not educated. For instance, I have a woman in this market, like at the market, Afransi market. This woman is so attentive to details enough that she'll be like, Francis, I know you cook in a full month, and this is the fifth week which you haven't come to buy anything. Listen, come, take all these ingredients, go home and cook. She knows. And this woman has never,
Wow.
she has this attention to precision, like she's so precise about details that she knows everything. She calls me the son. She understands everything. So I feel like if you are not educated, please, that's not a barrier. That's not a barrier. Sir Prince, as you talk to me, the real Don Francis is not just this body. Because if it's about body, there are people who are more robust and giant than me to do what I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do far better than some people who are even far bigger than me. So a real human is the one inside you. And I want to encourage people that decide to see the one inside you instead of education. Don't limit yourself by your education. There are things even we do with just our basic certificate that let me use this story. There was this lecturer of mine who approached me to help him with an IT job. And this man has a PhD in IT. I don't know the branch, but he's from IT. And then he wanted me to help him with the job he's doing. And I'm confused. I was still doing my diploma. But this man is somebody that has a PhD in it and still can do a common job. If I counted myself because I didn't have a PhD, I can't do it. That's bad. So please don't feel. The only thing I want people to understand is that there is an innate desire in us that we all have to bring it out. The world is waiting for that, not for a school. School only teaches. One thing I like about education is that it helps you to develop this, but education do not determine who you will be. So if you are not educated, or you are high school or any of those things. Interestingly, like we put it, me for instance, that's why people need to view some of these interviews and also listen to some of these things because for me like this, if I hadn't had those friends coming in and people believing in me that look, you have to go back to school. Yesterday when I talked with the lady and we finished, she was like, say, I'm going to come back and we'll continue this conversation because your words are beginning to let me feel like let me go back to school. That was exactly how I felt. The first day someone mentioned, look, you have to go back to
Wow.
school. I was so confused. Like me, go back to school. Do you know how my results looks like? There's like, I don't care about your results. I mean, go back to school and realize yourself. He put it in he said, go back to the four walls of the classroom and then develop yourself. I didn't understand it at the time. I didn't understand it. So if there's anybody watching us who feels like I'm back, I've been drained, any other thing that is drawing you back. Don't measure yourself. Once you are seeing only the obstacles, there's no way you're going to win. If you are seeing only obstacles, and then is it Holiday or who is that? He'll be like, obstacle is the way. The very obstacle that you think it can't even bring you forward. That's the thing that's going to pave the way for you. So I feel like people shouldn't limit themselves. We are limitless. There's a lot we can do. Even some of people will look at you and say, me, when somebody says you are doing well, yes, they are so someone when you say you are doing well, like I don't know what I've done. What am I doing? I feel like there's more we can do than what you are doing. So nobody should limit himself because I do not have an education. In fact, education, I like that people should enroll in education because it builds us up. But then we shouldn't be limited by education.
I think that these are very profound words. You shouldn't be limited, if you've not had any formal education. Now, one of the, for the main purpose or topic for today, I've been thinking about paradigms, right? Like mindset change. And
That's all.
today, I want to ask you a few questions about the paradigm shift for teachers. And there are two things that come to mind. I want us to first look at the teacher, right, in your mind. And for me, the reason I'm asking is that I when I follow your work, I realize that you're a different type or a different breed.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. I saw some, maybe last year, last 2 years, I've been following for a couple of years now, and I see that you reach out to people who are kind of donating books. And in fact, in one of your posts, I remember so well, where it was a video, I think, where the kids, you had closed from school, and about some maybe 10 kids followed you to your house, and you had like a mini library where these kids were reading.
Yeah.
In fact, that was the very moment I knew I had to, get you on People Who Inspire. That for me is like going beyond what is enshrined even in the curriculum to give these kids not just an education but an experience. You see, just as you remember, it's been years, but you remember those teachers who were profoundly contributing to your life. These kids would forever, for the rest of their lives, they'll become grandparents, and they'll still remember that I had a teacher who would allow us into his hall, in his home, so we could read. Now, I'm giving this premise to ask my question. Why are you doing this?
Again, that's another time to tell my story. Once again, thank you for asking me this. I really appreciate it. So I remember vividly, it was February 2022 when my mentor at the time handed the class fully to me. I went to the board and I wrote CO. I was writing something. We from the upside of Ghana, Bono Ahafo region, we've read a lot that education began from the central region. So for us, the popular mindset is that children from the central region are already higher. So when I was coming, one thing I was like, no, I
Okay, I think we're having some technical challenges, but if you're watching this today, we're having the People Who Inspire. We have Don Francis, who is a primary school teacher, and he's doing amazingly well. I asked him a question early on. He's really exceptional. Usually what he does is that he's able to, coordinate efforts from around the world, people who would want to donate books to his rural schools, and he brings everything together. He was able to establish even a library in this rural, very remote school. And on top of that, he creates these reading clubs that after school, kids can just come. He lives close to the school, so kids can just come sit in his hall. He entertains them, and he teaches them how to read. And in one of the posts that Don Francis had put out there, I was reading carefully, and I realized that he was going far beyond what even the curriculum, kind of dictates for teachers to do. So this is the question he's trying to ask. I asked him that, why is he doing this? Why is he going beyond, far beyond for these kids? So welcome back. I think we lost you for a bit, but please continue from the story you're sharing with us.
Our country, Ghana, MTN went off suddenly.
No, I understand. Don't worry.
That's okay. So when I took over the class, it was, the kind of expectation you bring into the classroom, young blood, and the mindset already about central region education is already a top notch. Think about all the big schools. So I began to take them at a level. Then I wrote TO. I asked the child to read. Nobody will read. I asked the child to anything. So I decided to break the words into syllables, and I was like, please, what's this? TO, just to TO. Out of, they were 15 in the class that very day. It was only three people. One, not because they didn't know. First, they didn't have the confidence. And then because I was a stranger, they can't talk to me. Like almost everything was down. They, some of them didn't know it because we were coming back from the corona break. They came back, they came straight from class 3 to class 5. Class 4, they didn't do anything and they promoted. So naturally they didn't know the thing, but there was no confidence as well. I had to devise a way of, I hate routine. I hate routine. I hate to do it because it's done like that. Let's always be doing. I hate routine. I don't like, not like I hate routine 100%, but I just don't want to be like a robot. So I was like,
Yeah.
let me do something different that can let these kids. I have the passion, and just aside the passion, I really love those children. So I began to teach them. I kept everything aside. The lesson note I had prepared, everything. I'll prepare the lesson note, bring it to my mistress, she'll mark, and I'll go and teach a different thing. Like I had to build them in their phonics before. Then I realized they didn't actually know the thing. So when I kept teaching them, one day I taught them minimal pairs, for example, game and sing. Then when I finished teaching them, a child, I was reading Miles Monroe's book. I think it was Miles Monroe, yeah. Then one of the boy went to pick the book, then saw fame. Then he called, say, you said game and save were minimal pair. Then does it mean that fame too is a minimal pair for game, same? And I'm like, yeah. It's like, okay, so I've had another minimal pair. Severance. Imagine a child take a book and
Wow.
recognize the minimal pair. It means that if he gets books, if they had books, whatever you were teaching, we're already teaching in abstract, and we didn't even have the books. But it means that if a child goes home and there are books, he can be able to research more of what you are teaching. It's like, okay, if that's the new way. So I read out to my boss and now read out more. I cannot do any of these interviews without
Yeah,
a
and I read
date.
that more. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Great
interestingly, Nana
guy.
had followed me from 2015. Nana had been following me from 2015 and never made me know he was
Oh,
following me. Yes. So when I texted Nana, I texted Nana about I wanted to buy a book. A book. I was buying a book from their store. So when I finished buying the book, I texted him and Nana. Like I didn't know it was him. I thought it was the customer representative. And I'm like, oh, it's easy to buy book from your shop. Everything has been so easy. And then I even received the books 2 days after buying it. Then he responded, they're done. I'm like, please, who is this? How do you know me here and there? Then it's like, oh, it's another Damoa. Like, Nana, you know me, you know my name. I've known you from 2015 and I've been reading your post. You know, the people factors we talk about. That was
yes.
one of the things. I was like, Nana. Then I didn't say anything at the beginning. I was like, he was like, I know you. Then he began to recount stories I wrote in 2015, 16, 17, and then up to 2022. Then he's mentioning some of the things
Wow.
I have done. I'm like, Nana, you know all of this. And I said, Nana, you've really given me hope. But truth is, this teaching thing that you think I'm made for it, I'm just thinking twice because what I saw at school, I'm thinking of me. I believe in that thing. I can decide to quit teaching and just go into anything. I don't care if I'll get money or not.
Mm-hmm.
I begin to build myself up again. Then he's like, don't stop. I have taught in Afransi before. I'm like, Nana, you taught in Afransi? He said, my dad was staying
Oh,
at, he just gave me his life story. Then he encouraged me to do it. Then a few days later, he asked, Francis, we are moving and we have some old books. Would you like them? I said, Nana, are you asking me if I like books? Even my own books, I'm giving it to the kids. We don't care the type of book it is. We don't care. Even if it's only mathematics, please, any type of book you have, just give it to us. Then Nana is like, okay. So that was how it all began. But I am a reader. I have my own library. My library is right here. So
mm,
I decided to inculcate that in them because I felt like aside people meeting me and helping me, the fact that I built a library on my own, like learned to read and all of those things, and how it has shaped me, I look at that and I want to inculcate it in the children. So when we began getting the books, I I encouraged them. We found a place, a long story, but I encouraged them. Then let's even move from the books. Then I also devised the plan based on their confidence. After tackling the phonics, now they can mention if they see, let's say, if they see the word, they can now mention. But then, what will raise their confidence? And I don't want to be an ordinary teacher. I want to be that teacher that will make transformation. So I was like, okay. I first began to give them rewards. We learned it back at school. Try to give them rewards. You give them rewards. So this
Mm.
student want. I every motivation I knew, I tried it in 1 week. Day one, I'll try this. Day two, I'll try this. I'll write it down on my sticky notes, and I'll try this one. Day one, day two, day three, and it was not working. Then something just spoke, like gave me a hint that make them your friends. So I got the clue and I was like, okay, guys. And over here, absenteeism is so huge. The children can just decide not to come to school, and nobody will say anything.
Wow.
So I told them, look, let's build classroom rules. The classroom rules, if you don't come to school, you're going to write a letter. And even if me, the class teacher, do not come, I made them feel like they have that power. So we began with that. If you don't come to school, write a letter. Then one day, one of my kids decided not to come to school. And he didn't write, no, I didn't come to school. I was sent on an errand for the school. And then this boy, I came back and then they're like, okay, so you were sent on an errand, but we didn't see your letter. I was like, I wrote to the head. I was like, the headmistress is aware. Didn't she tell you? They're like, headmistress didn't come to our class to inform us that you were going for a workshop on behalf of the school. So please, as custom demands, we will need your letter. One, because I had made them my friends, and I taught them accountability. You have to demand from a leader. A leader is supposed to be accountable to the people he leads. In my class is not a class. I call my class a community. So as a community head, I was accountable to them. So it ends up I have to by force write the letter. So I wrote the letter, sent it to the class, right in the class, gave it to the class prefect, and taught
Wow.
him how to minute a letter and then read it to his class. Then the boy that held me accountable, the boy that held me accountable, the next day he was absent. He didn't come to school. And he didn't send the letter. So when he came the next day, I was like, months, just as what is good for the goose equally is good for the gander. So please do your job. I'm also demanding my letter. Now, this is the case. These children can't write. They can't write anything. So what are you going to write?
Oh, wow.
So to feed it. And he wrote just a single line. Say, please, my mother say, Kobe, go to farm. So give me permission. That was the letter. That's just the word of the letter.
Oh,
So when he brought it, I read it. I like it was just funny, but I received it and I minuted it and I gave it to the class prefect. He also minuted it. Then and I kept it on Facebook and went offline. In a few minutes when I came back, the letter had already gone viral with Felix
oh,
Opacho, Samuel Okujetu Ablakwa, these honorables, and a lot of people commenting on the letter. I was like, come on, this is funny. But I read it to the class. I read it to the class and showed them what the letter had done and why I asked them to write letter. First, demanding accountability and then all of those things. And since then, they became my friends. Now, my friends to the extent that because I allowed them to come, I allowed them to get closer to me so that they will know boundaries, they will know a lot of things, how you develop. So when they go home and realize that my books were far more than the books that we all have together as a school, they were like,
as a
say,
school.
reading books. But later on, they realized some of the books, the content, like everything. So they began, sometimes they even have to leave their library and come to my house for it. And just before you ask the next question, so this is my letter bag. This bag has over 500 letters
Oh,
from
wow.
the from the kids, and they will write a letter
Oh,
to you. You don't call me say I
wow.
want this without a letter. You have to put it on paper. So that's how we grew up. And they also because of the reading, once
Wow.
they are able to develop themselves. So that's it.
Wow, this no, I mean, I'm really inspired. I mean, if you're watching this and you're not inspired, then I don't know what else will inspire you because I mean, I'm looking at the passion even with which you're when you're talking about these kids. I can tell even in your eyes how you are really passionate, like you genuinely mean well for these kids. And I think for me, that's like a take home for me that whatever I find myself doing, I should
Mhm.
really build that passion towards it. And you I remember when Nana Aredamoa, did that donation, the books and everything. But there was one, maybe you probably remember this. There was one video. I'm not sure it's a video, it's a photo, but I was reading one of your write-ups where I think the kids had come to your house. They ate your tea bread and your coke or something. And I remember. So I was thinking that maybe they were genuinely hungry, but
Yeah.
they just decided to eat all your food in the house.
So
It's really interesting.
it's more like
What? Mhm.
no, it's more like a vision and a mission. The long-term vision is to raise leaders. Me, I believe that the student I teach will be a game changer in this country. Me, I don't know what's going to dim this because once I stand in front of them, I know because I realized that my teacher, he didn't even know this was the impact he was giving to me. So having the opportunity to stand before children every day makes me have that one hope that at least one child would one day be a game changer. So that is why. And then the mission is just sometimes I don't even have the food. Sometimes they eat my food and finish my fridge and everything is gone. But that is a way. It's more like trying to catch a rat.
Yes.
That is the
Yeah.
way you will eat, you will
Yeah.
drink. But at the end of the day, the long-term vision is to help you be educated. So that's the idea.
Yeah. That's really solid, and we talk about, so that for me is the first paradigm, right? And the reason why I'm looking at this word paradigm is that I see that your mindset is quite like an unusual mindset, right? Because how 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 do we, let's say, proliferate this mindset? How do we make this mindset common amongst teachers,
Mhm.
right? Because I also know that there are some teachers who just come in because, well, at the end of it's a secure job. I mean, theoretically, and at the end of the month, they just get their salary or whatever it is. But so how do we make this kind of mindset you have? Because you said something profound, that you are raising leaders. So you're not just preparing kids for BEC or whatever it is, but in your mind, you're raising leaders. And in raising leaders, you need to transcend the boundaries of the curriculum to kind of encapsulate other life skills, which you are, of course, doing through reading and other things. How do you think we can make this kind of paradigm, this mindset, common amongst teachers in Ghana and, of course, across Africa?
So being a teacher, I sometimes have it's just these days I've decided to even talk about my teaching profession. I made a covenant with myself. One, not to be a leader among teachers. Two, not to talk about the teaching profession. And three, when we go for a workshop or any other thing, I won't talk. These three things, it was right on my wall here. Every morning I look at it, I go to school. My focus was just on the kids, and someday I snap out. But after a while, I realized, Charlie, this is not working. So you see, there are papers behind me because I had to make it a rule. But after a while, I broke it down because one, teachers have to understand the power they wield. Listen, imagine every 5 days you stand in front of even 10 children. It is surprising that one of these child might end up being, look, you have the power to change the destiny of that 10 children in front of you. And I consider it as the biggest opportunity. But most of we, the teachers, do not know. And we do not even know. Look, there is something I say sometimes that people do not side with me. But I tell you, I've lived in the northern part of Ghana and I've lived in the south, almost every region I've lived there. And I don't follow politics. I really don't engage in politics. I vote to do. But if you check MPP's ability to get into the northern region, its teachers are part of it. Yes, one day I'll hold this conversation. Why? Because the teachers that went to the northern part of Ghana in 2015, 14, 15, 16 were more from the southern sector. And they were not treated right. The government didn't treat them right. So they 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 were at this conversation. You let me just put it there. But teachers were core influence of the former, I think, former President Mahama. Teachers were part of the reason why he fell down. Now most teachers know this, but they don't know that it's a power they hold. I say this because if we know the kind of power we hold and what we are doing to these children, then we can do it well. But teachers do not know. Teachers have to elevate their vision to become 21st century teachers. For instance, look, because of this 21st century vision, There are some things that even me, my supervisor, when he comes to see me do in the classroom, he can't complain. For instance, in ICT or computing, we teach this case based on the curriculum. We are teaching 2007 Microsoft Excel. Highest is 2010. Windows, when we are teaching operating system, the highest is Windows 7.
Wow.
I'm being a teacher. I will teach Windows 11. I will teach Windows 10, Windows 8, and then teach the Windows 7. So
Yes.
I know who I am. I am that kind of person. You can't come and say because I've taught Windows 11, you are going to get me out of the class. It will never happen. Do that to me and we meet at the court. I know what I'm doing. So I don't stick to just the curriculum, the old curriculum like that. I don't do that. Even upon changing our curriculum, there are still like cake things inside. So a teacher should be teachers are supposed to invest much more on their personal growth. So I'm offering online reading about countries. Look, I read about Singapore than any other country in the world. And I look at Malaysia. I look at countries. I haven't been there. I know one day I'm going to go there, but I look at the transformation that has happened and how they took it from their education system. And I'm asking, what is wrong with Ghana? Why? What's happening? But it ends up at teachers. We don't even know that we can do this and change this world like that.
Yeah.
Teachers do not even teachers because you see you readily. The reason why I say this is because I decided to invest my passion in this because I realized that when I teach the child something, for example, if you come to my class, one thing you will see is communism, community in such a way that initially the children will be like, I don't have money, I won't come to school. So I spent my salary will even help me do all of this. I spend money to keep children in school. But after a while, I realized that some of the kids come to school with 5 cedis,
Yeah.
some with nothing. Then they realize that me, if I have 2 Ghana and somebody do not have money, I'll give it to the child who do not have the money. After a while, they've all come to embrace the community system. So sometimes you'll be like, all of them will be in school, and one of the friends will be feeding the other. Another day, the thing changes. And I look at, I have not even told them because I give, those
Wow.
also give. They were learning from me. And I look at the children deciding to follow me to do what I do, copying from me. It means that if I raise their vision to that level, they can also become those kind of leaders. I'm like, no, no, I have to change my style. So teachers should first invest in their personal development, know the kind of power they hold as professional teachers, and then that changing this. It's funny that when other sectors are crying that this country, let's run away, this country it can't help, then teachers are also crying, forgetting that me, if I believe that if there are people who think alike in the next 10 years, we can change a lot of things because once we put our minds to it, we will achieve it. But teachers do not know. So the first paradigm is that teachers should invest in themselves. You can't teach what you don't know. All of these things, I'm an avid reader. Most of the things I read, like I told you about Singapore story. Look, Singapore story has kept me awake for more than a week. There was this week I couldn't sleep. I went lie on my bed, woke up and come and sit. And they just that thing inside me. I don't know what to do. Why? Because this is a country that has nothing. They don't have any natural and resources like we have. But they go to a place, and I knew that as teachers, we can also help people get to there. The unfortunate thing is that once you get there, someday they'll tell you, look, what you're doing, it won't go anywhere. But even if it won't go anywhere, we'll change one person, then we leave.
Exactly. And that's for me the mindset that is crucial, right? That even
Yeah,
if you change one person, that is
exactly.
all you need, right? It takes one person to
Mhm.
destroy something monumental, and it takes one person to spearhead the building of something monumental. So it's absolutely crucial, that this mindset is yeah, it's out there. We will be wrapping up very soon, but my last question, it's kind of real on a lighter note. What is the most shockingly brilliant student or people you've come across who, without your intervention or you meeting them, they probably would not have realized that potential, right? I'm sure you've encountered a lot, but is there one story of a student who is like a genius but no one knew until, let's say, you encounter them?
So this is the latest letter I received from a student. Now, there's this student called
Mhm.
Otaboy, the very boy who didn't come to school, but wrote the letter. That I made him
Yeah.
write the letter. The boy when I took over, I'm not talking about being too much of academically genius, but just a natural genius. When I took over, the boy instantly he won't miss school and he grabbed everything. Like, when you're a leader, there's just one person that understands your vision and goes accordingly. In my letter box over here, I have
Yes.
letters. These are letters.
Yes.
Now, out of the 500 plus letters, Otable's letters alone are over 100, including artworks, which are here. Oh, my video, you can
Oh,
see they
wow.
are including this boy. uh, he will do artwork, he plays football, he reads, he writes letters, everything. The guy will do that. And he writes stories. He even writes to some of my friends. If some people are online, they will tell you he will write to them. The latest person was Mama Vigo, Poshago. He wrote me a letter and was asking that, and asked me to ask Mama Vigo that he needs to see her pictures because she had sent him 50 Ghana, then I will do it for him. So he was like, somebody did good to me, but I don't even know the person. I don't even know I haven't even seen the person's picture. So I'm writing you this letter to just show me the pictures. So I sent it to Mama V. Then she too wrote back. Then I showed it to the boy. He is he is the genius for me because, but there are others who are academically genius more than him. But I find him being the genius because initially, when I arrived, the family was too bad. Sometimes the mother is even sick. You have midnight, you have to intervene. Like, their education was deteriorating. The education, there was even a time they had to send him elsewhere and they were sending him away.
Wow.
Just because of I communicated my vision to the woman that look,
Wow.
this boy he has done this, he has done that. And you know the funny thing, this very boy we talk about, this story, I'm sharing it here for the first time. Last 2 weeks, I came back from Asante Achim Abubu. When I came, he was at my gate with banana.
Mhm.
Then I was Ike, he's called Isaac Utable. Why do you keep look? Almost every 2 weeks, he'll bring me banana, gari, he will bring me. And I'm like, I called the man, I was like, Mom, please tell Ike, I live alone. Some of these things are too much. The woman said, see, if there's nothing you have left behind, if you died right now, what you have left behind is what the boy is doing. First, I gave first. I was buying uniform for him, buying shoes,
Hmm.
giving him money for school when the family was down 100%. Even the mother had to intervene for her hospital and everything. Now the boy learned what I did, and he will bring the thing and be like, "Sir, this is what I have to offer." So I feel like aside him, I have others. I have several girls, a lot of people, but I pick him because he had caught the vision very, very faster than everybody. It's even surprising that today he didn't even come here. He would have been here. Like he caught the vision, and I trust God that this guy. So I choose Isaac Table.
Wow. Wow, wow. I mean that's a very moving story. I mean, you're indeed changing lives. And for those of you watching, our time is up, but I'll go over maybe just 2 minutes. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to send them through. I would project the questions to the screen, and then I would read together with Don Francis. And so I would put some questions. We have a few comments. They are not questions, but a few comments. I'm sure you know some of them. So this is, I'm not sure, Citizen Khalifa. He just said don't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it seems a lot of people
Hey,
know you.
Khalifa.
So yeah, yeah. And then the next one, yeah, the next one is Gabriel. Gabriel Osei says, "Keep it up, boss, Don Francis." These are very nice, heartwarming messages. Daniel Japan says, "That's my man. Go higher, bro."
That's my school father. He handed over to me,
So
and it's
it
a
seems some of your friends. Oh, really? Wow,
yeah.
wow! Thanks, Daniel, for tuning in. And then we have Sawanu Achu. Perfect. He said, "Don, all the best. I'm watching." So many beautiful comments. Prince Fosu says, "Absolutely amazing." And then we have Jacob's
Oh, James.
Bonding Senators. Great job.
Hi, Jay.
Uh, yeah, Jacob. Okay, you know him.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have Fime Anthony Patrick.
Patrick.
Keep pushing, brother.
My school.
Make us all proud. Yeah. Oh, okay. So Jacob sent again. It says you're really an impact maker. So Jacob is
Jacob is
acting.
almost doing like what I'm doing,
Yeah.
Mr. Prince.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He doesn't
Wow.
publicize it, but he
Wow.
does it.
Amazing. He's doing great things. He's like the quiet person, but behind the scenes doing great things.
Yeah.
So Jacob, shout outs to you for continue being awesome, as Don mentioned. And then we have is Mr. Manuel Carter says keep leading and
That,
inspiring, boss.
that's my son as well from college.
Yeah. Oh, okay, okay. So we've had very good comments coming in. Our time is up, but then do you have any final words you would want to say before we end the live stream?
First of all, I would want to say thank you for the opportunity again. Anytime I'm given the opportunity to share my story, it's just like I'm doing the best thing I want to do in life. Thank you for this. But I would want to specifically speak to the young people who are, especially those who have taken the teaching profession as their job. I want to encourage
Mhm.
them that listen, today there's something in the curriculum called global citizenship. I haven't traveled outside Ghana to any of the European countries, but I read almost everything about them. I do things and people react from America elsewhere. Listen, don't don't limit yourself. Decide to be creative. And listen, if it's not working for you, you can leave. But please, if you do, if it is to be done, it must be done well. So please, especially those who will be posted soon from college, I know whatever it is, they will post you to join us on the field. Decide. It's about cautiousness, and then um how do you say intentionality. Be intentional to be the best of yourself.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Don Francis. I really truly appreciate, spending time, spending your energy, even opening up, right? Because a lot of times it's really hard to share some of these things you're sharing with us. These are really personal things, and I thank you for being vulnerable on the People Who Inspire platform and sharing your deep-seated inspiration and aspirations with us. And for all those of you who joined, I want to say a big thank you for making a date with us every weekend to talk to people like Don Francis. I would want to say that keep being awesome. You can share the link even after the stream has ended. You can rewatch the stream to glean a lot more insight into what inspires Don Francis. Again, once again, Don Francis, thank you so much. I truly appreciate your time and I wish you a great week ahead.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, I'll catch you all in the next episode. Bye bye.